How would you feel if you could make a full-time living from your music without ever posting on social media or constantly doing that, having a website, or even going to these awkward networking events? Well, I'm here to show you how it works. So how I came to that is, in 2014, I was asked to compose music for a commercial. This commercial wasn't even really good and the budget wasn't great. But sometimes you have to do things that we don't really enjoy that much because we need the money. So this was me, 2014. I created the music in 2 days. Where are my commercial composers out there? You never have more than 2 days. So yeah, I worked day and night to create the best music possible for this. And I mixed it, produced it, did everything, delivered it, and they didn't say a word. They were just happy, paid the invoice. Didn't think much about it after that. But after a year, in 2015, in summer, I got the letter from GEMA in the mail. GEMA is the German performance rights organization. And I opened it and I was like, what? It actually blew me away what was in there. I made over $21,000 from this one commercial in royalties. And I thought to myself, okay, this is crazy. How can this even be? And I got hooked, basically. I was onto something. I really felt that very, very strongly. And what it was like, performance royalties, right? So I never before had a check like this in the mail from GEMA. So from that experience over the last couple of years, and this one incident where I had made this much in performance royalties, I created the pitch framework. So in this video, I'm going to show you what the pitch framework is, how you can get more placements, and how any level music creator can achieve massive success through sync licensing. But first, let me show you what kind of tracks have the best chance to get synced and how you can take action on your tracks. So what kind of tracks have the best chance to get licensed? And what kind of action can you take on the tracks that you make or have? So first of all, the track that is the most lucrative is the one that exists. The track can be the best track, most epic composition, the most amazing production, and it can be super valuable in theory, but it's sitting on your hard drive, and it doesn't do anything there. And if your track is not available to license, it won't get your sync deal. So you have to make sure that you create a track, that you finish a track, and then you push your track out there to publishers. If you don't do that, you will never get a license from your track. So this is the first part. The next thing is, tracks in sync have to have certain qualities or a certain quality to them. What this means, that quality in itself is pretty subjective. It depends on the listener, right? You can put everything in a track. All the effort, all the value, all the production, all the best new plugins and everything you got. But the quality in itself is decided by the listener or by the user of the track. And if you don't have your listener or your user in mind, then the track won't have the quality that it needs. But you can do certain things to ensure on your end that you did everything to make your track the highest possible quality. Let me show you. There are 4 questions that you can ask yourself before you send a track out. So we discussed this. You create a track, you finish the track, and then you push it out. And before you push it out, you have to ask these 4 questions. Did I not rush the track? Is this some of my best work? Am I proud of the result of this track? Does it have any dull moments? This sounds more like, it looks more like pull, but it's dull. So if you answer to these questions, all of them, yes, you're good to go. That's pretty easy, right? So in the beginning, it's good to, so if you're just starting out, it's best to have all of these with a yes, right? All of these 4 have to be a yes. If you can't make all of them a yes, it's probably not good enough. But the more you make tracks, the more you create them, to finish them, and the more you push them out, the more feedback you get. So you know from what you pushed out and can like reiterate then on the tracks that you're sending out again. I wouldn't do this in the beginning. As I said, I would really be really careful of what you're sending out, but later on you can definitely you get more experience, and then you know more of what you can actually do. You don't have to ask these questions anymore like consciously, but you know unconsciously what a good track and valuable track is. The next part of these questions, or these qualities that a track he needs to have, is the format. If you get the formatting of a track right and take good care of this part of the process, the chances of your track being used on TV, 10x. It gives you 10x, and I'll tell you why in a second. It's just like that instantly if you do that. The format involves editing points. A clear beginning and a clear end. You cannot just fade it in or fade it out, right? You have to have some memorability. And the length is important. And then there are versions. Sorry, I get it a little bit. Versions and edits. Now I'll show you why it's 10x. So, let's say you have everything, the first 3 right. Edit points, a clear beginning and ending, and a memorability. That means just simply that it is something that has some kind of motive, some kind of rhythm that is going through the whole track. So it's like one ongoing thing. But then if it comes to the length and the versions and the edits, you can 10x the track. So let's say length has to be between 130 to 230. Then you can make versions. You can have a instrumental version. Then you can have a drum and bass version. Then you can have a underscore version. And you can have edits. You can have a 60, 30, and 15 second. And you can, on top of that, you can have a couple of stings. So this makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 7 possibilities of your track getting used. This is about the format. And then what we have in the end has to be easy, especially in the beginning. But I do easy tracks to this day, and they make me the most money, to be honest. And what I mean with easy, they should come easy to you, right? Library music is quantity with the right quality and format, of course. It really amazes me most of the time when I see composers that they want to build the third story of a house on an empty lot. They want to start on the top and not build a foundation first. You have to start somewhere and build the foundation so you can build on the foundation. And when it comes to their business and their perceived ability to create and to deliver, a lot of composers overestimate themselves and then overpromise and underdeliver, which is not a good sign. And also, it doesn't get you any placements. And this gets frustrating then, and then you stop. So make something that's easy, that it comes easy to you. And it takes time. There is no shortcut, right? You have to have practice, persistence, and patience. And this gets us from where we're at to where we want to go. 3 P's. Practice, persistence, and patience. So make it easy on you. Something like trailer music or hybrid sound design, orchestral action tracks, full orchestra, symphonic tracks. All these can wait. If a certain style or production value hinders you from getting music in the hands of publishers, don't do it. No, don't do it. At least don't start with it. You can do it later. But if you have the foundation on, you can start it. Do smaller things like tension _ organic drones or small percussion. There's a place for that in production music. I know that because I do that. And they make decent money. It doesn't matter what kind of track it is, especially in Germany. There is the same royalty payment. These are not the tracks that get synced to commercials or Super Bowl or like big films or movies on Netflix, but these give you a nice, consistent income from royalties, performance royalties. So, and this doesn't not only get you started in getting your music out there, this helps you to make money and build leverage. And this means, on the other hand, that you can dedicate more time towards production, towards learning more and owning your skills, and maybe cut down on your 9 to 5 or on your day job or wherever you're at. You can dedicate, in the end, you can dedicate more time into music. So keep this in mind. This is really, really important. Valuable, useful tracks that publishers, broadcasters, and editors love and are efficiently monetized across multiple channels and income sources. This is what kind of tracks you should create. And this is where the pitch framework comes into play. This is where we go next. As you could imagine, the pitch framework is an acronym, PITCH, and we start with a P. And the P stands for production. Who would have thought? When I first started, I was totally thrilled that a publisher in the US was willing to give me a shot at composing for some of the briefs. I thought to myself, I mean, how hard could this be, right? Making music for Underscore that no one will hear. What I didn't understand was that producing for music for commercials is very different than composing for a library. I failed many times, had a lot of rejections of my tracks, but I was able to gather feedback and implement the feedback. And I learned from music that was already on TV and already was used, was already valuable. And it is about the usability factor. Usability factor. That's all that it is about. And your artistic vision or your artistic thinking can help you, but it's not the main role in production music. So what does it mean to have a usability factor? It can be used under dialogue. Dialogue. Oh gosh, my writing. Dialogue. And has to keep the listener excited and not too excited. Basically, what I wanted to say, what this all means is the production has to fit the purpose. And when you think about all these factors here, it makes it much easier for you and the tracks will be more successful. On to the next one. I of the pitch framework stands for innovation. You shall not reinvent the wheel every time you sit down for a new track. Structure and format will mostly stay the same. And there are certain genres and styles that work easier than others. The jazz fusion track with like long solos and stuff is probably not the best one to go with in the beginning. Or if you do this whole thing of sync licensing to actually make money with it. It is about the right tracks. But even without going out of your way to innovate on what kind of music should be out there, you can innovate in another way. You can innovate in a way that you stand out to publishers that want to work with you and that they are looking forward to get your tracks. And this means you communicate in a certain way. One thing about this is, if you send one email and never follow up, you won't get an answer. And I can prove that. I have my students, they follow up, and on the second and third email, they get the responses. And mostly they get a yes. You know why? Because they innovate and send a next message. And if you do that, you're better off than 99% of every other composer out there. Probably not after that video, because hopefully many people will try that and do that. But I tell you that the follow-up sequence that I built, and there will be a video about that, gets you results and gets you a yes or an answer. No is also good because then you know. This is one way to innovate in communication with publishers or with clients in general. You can use that for not only for production music or sync license, you can use this for everything. I mean that follow up. Yeah, follow up. And Another way to innovate in this process is to use a genre and style that is already working for the publisher you want to work with and put your own spin on it while maintaining the structure and format necessary. For example, I worked with a friend for a long time on like these underscore, like very simple underscore tracks, but he always used a cello in some way or another for percussion elements, or even just some drony sounding like pad with a cello, and this made the tracks stand out. No one did that. And so publishers would love these tracks and they got used a lot. We come to the next point with the collaboration part, but if you can play any instrument, or if you can just use like some real instruments, or just the tabletop of your desk and just do something with your hands to make percussion elements, you will stand out because it's your sound and it's unique. But keep the format and structure of the track in place. So spin, put your spin on it, right? And it's more about setting yourself apart from the rest than coming up with new music that no one ever has heard before. I'm sorry, but this is not going to happen. At least not for this game. And to encourage you, you are unique, and let that work for you. You have your own thoughts and your own like inner being, and you will be unique when you're not trying to copy others. So use that in your advantage. On to the next one, which is obviously the T. And T stands for targeting. You need to know who you're talking to and what your value is to them. It does not make sense to send neutral underscore track for scientific journalism TV report to a big trailer house. Doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't fit their brand or catalog. So to get the targeting right, you need to answer these questions for yourself. Where are you? Who are you? This means you have to know yourself. You have to know your limitations, your strengths and weaknesses. You have to know where you're good at, and you need to know what else you need to learn to get better. And this is essential, because if you over promise and under deliver, you will never hear from them again. So if you know who you are and what you're good at and what your weaknesses are, this helps a lot with your targeting. Who is your dream publisher? A dream publisher is basically someone who publishes the music, genre and style you can deliver on a regular basis. And you can find this out through research. It's just a Google search away to find these people. I tell you, my students do this and they always find someone. And with my help especially, I guide them through this, and I give them hints and stuff. So it's easy to do. It's really easy. Who could use your innovative approaches to the music? This can go beyond a publisher. This can go towards a YouTube channel, or a certain brand, or a certain agency that might be willing to, or they're basically looking for some new style. So who could use the stuff that you're producing? This is just some things that to get you thinking. And maybe you can fill a gap in the catalog, right? You have two things that you combine together that no one else did, but it still fits their catalog and what they put out there on a regular basis. And who could use that? And time. Can you do what you promise and what you're thinking about for an extended period of time, you have to think about like 12 to 24 months. This is not something that makes you rich quick, but it makes you rich consistently and for a long time. So in 2020, we had to move because of visa issues, and which meant I had to leave my studio behind. And the Lord provided pretty much way before, like 2015, as I told you in the beginning of this video, started providing me with the guidance to actually build the catalog. And in 2020, when we had to move, I had built this catalog up to 700 or whatever tracks, 750. And through all the moving around and then living in different places all around the world during the last 3 years, and with COVID happening, where like all my projects for 2020 and 2021 got canceled, I had to rely on something, but I didn't really think about production music at that time. I just did this, and then like kids were at home. So in 2020, I didn't do anything in this kind of music. And then we moved, and then 2021, I didn't do any more music as well. But in 2021, I got a royalty check that was 15% higher, not times, that would be great, 15% higher than the year before, without me doing any more work. So just to say, if you have these right, like, and plan for some time to put some work in beforehand to reap the benefits later, you can make substantial money from that without doing any more work, which is kind of the cool thing about that. And if you're clear on all these, reaching out to your publishers becomes a bliss, because you know who you're targeting, you know you want to work with them, and you know exactly what they need. So yeah, and you can deliver that, which is great. So basically, your innovative approach attracts your dream publishers, right? C, this stands for connection. I could have easily said it's for collaboration, but I think before you can collaborate, you have to build connections. And I can attest to that. So some of my best and most lucrative work has come from collaboration. And collaborations, in my opinion, come only together if you build and foster genuine connections. So collabs come from connections. So what does collaboration mean, and why do you need it? So why? As I told you before, the collaboration with a friend that played cello, and we worked on these tracks together and split the rider share 50-50. These tracks got used tons and tons of times, hundreds of times a year. And if I had to do it a lot, so this is one thing. He could add something to the tracks and we could like collaborate on them. But then on the other hand, also he could give me feedback, I could give him feedback. So we had this good thing going. And you can collaborate with a singer even. So to give you to put your spin on it, for example, right? If you have an idea. And then if you have a composer friend that has a complementing skill set, your composer friend can do drums really well, programming, and you can do synth really well. You can combine these and have some better tracks. And I think 1 + 1 is 3 in this regard. Like if you collaborate from a genuine connection standpoint, this is just invaluable. And of course, your publishers, don't forget them. These come from, if you build genuine connections with them, they will always come back because they always need more music. And if you get through this whole framework and do what I said in this video, then they will come back. They want your opinion on what they should do next. And of course, the connections to like content creators, be it like marketing managers at brands or producers or journalists or YouTubers, count that as well. This is basically the same. You build a connection with them. You build a friendship, a good relationship with them. So, genuine connections foster profitable collaboration. And now to the last and most fun part. I'm hoping you can guess what this means. Probably you can't. But what this stands for, the H, is harvest. And why I say harvest is because I really feel like this production music game that I'm talking about, this synchronizing game I'm talking about, is you can relate this to the Bible verse of Mark 4:28. All by itself, the soil produces grain, first the stalk, then the head, and then the full kernel in the head. What this means is you now, going through this framework, have created your own seed, the seed that was in you. You put this seed. The seed are your tracks, right? You put these seeds into the soil. And these are the dream publishers and the placements. And when you put the seed in the soil and you take care of them, they will produce fruit. So this is how I think about the production music game. For me, it's not a one-off thing and the one big placement and the one like shooting into the wind and like hoping something sticks. For me, it's like an approach to, like a farmer, I want to farm my fruit from the seeds that I put in the ground. And this is why I have to know a framework and a process of how this works. And this is why I'm showing it to you, because I think it's super powerful. And what I like about this from the Bible, of course, I love Jesus, and this is why I think this is this is the truth, in my opinion. All by itself, does it say here. This means when you do that, when you put your seed into the soil and care for it, with patience and care, it will produce grain, the fruit. And this is what I think. I can attest to that too. This is a testimony. I put like lots of seeds into the soil, a lot of hard work, and sometimes I really sowed in tears because I didn't see anything coming from it. But then in the end, it paid off big time, and does still for 5 years. So this is just amazing to do. You have to have some things in place to actually harvest. You have to have a membership at a member at a pro, and your tracks have to be registered. With a pro. If you have your dream publisher and found them and they are a good fit for you and they are like a good publisher, then they will do it for you anyway. So you don't have to worry, the registration is done for you. And then just one more motivation for you is like, when you look back to this point today, in a couple of years, you will probably think, because I thought the same thing, why did I not start earlier with this? So this is my charge to you. And I want to give you a couple of action steps. How can you get more placements? How do you start? So you can look back to this day and say, okay, I'm glad I started, but I'm sad I didn't start earlier. No, if you start today, it will pay off. So you're sitting on a mountain of value. You have a lot of tracks on your hard drive that might fit your dream publisher. Everyone, I said again, everyone has that. They need to be refined a little bit, the tracks, and they carved out to fit the valuable, useful, loved framework that I showed before. They have to be like, have to exist, as I said. They have to have the right quality, format, and they have to be easy. But if you have these on your hard drive and can modify them and refine them, then you can plant them in the soil, and this is the fastest way. I put here hard drive. Then you need to have consistency. What that means is you have to find a publisher that has a decent sized catalog, like not too big and not too small, like between, let's say, 2,000 to 8,000 tracks. And they have to publish regularly on a consistent basis in the genre that you want to send them. So you know they put this stuff out there and it gets used and they want more of it. Then you can find a gap in their catalog, and with your innovative approach can fill that gap. I put here innovation. And then you have to look at the ROI. So it doesn't make sense to spend 100 hours on a track that never gets used. Even if it's the best sounding track ever. You can do this in your free time as a hobby, but this is not a business. You have to make tracks that actually give you an ROI. So I'm now at the point where I spent like 2 hours on a track, and like 80-20, the 20% of my tracks make 80% of my revenue, and these 20, there are a couple of them that make 3K, 4K a year consistently 5 years. And I put 2 hours, or like back then maybe 4 hours into it. This is an ROI that I'm talking about. So be cautious about what kind of music you get yourself into, and make it easy on yourself. So you're sitting on a mountain of value. You have to look for consistency in a decent sized catalog. Then you have to find a gap in the catalog, and then you have to make tracks that you can make an ROI on.